We have an offensive coordinator. The Texans have made the decision. They're going to go with Nick Caley. They go with Nick Caley, the Sean McVay assistant, former New England Patriot guy, connections to Nick Caserio, connections to the system that D'Amico Ryans appears to desire. This was the best candidate. I don't think it was even close with the names that we'd heard. It just seemed to make sense for a lot of reasons. I know he was your guy from the jump, even when you put out the 30-person list. So I don't want to speak for you, but I want to say I would imagine that if you were making the decision, this would have been the same decision that you would have made, Stoots.
Exactly. This is the guy that I feel like is the best option. I felt like he was the best offensive coordinator option out there on the market. You look at the coaches that he coached under, and you look at what he hopefully brings to the table as one of the young, forward-thinking offensive minds. This was the guy. I love that he has the tight end coach background, coached under McDaniels, who bad head coach, really good offensive coordinator. And then the couple of years with McVay, 2 years almost to the day, Landry, that he interviewed for the job the first time. He gets the job the second time. And I thought that was a pretty nice little note in the symmetry to Nick Caley ending up here with the Texans. And look, the McVay elements to this, and having learned under Sean McVay and taking from him and melding that and hopefully being able to make that something that fits and wraps around what CJ Stroud can do and limits what Stroud can't do. That's your hope when you go with Nick Caley. I really like the decision. That was my top guy from the beginning. That was my top guy before Bobby Slowik got fired, when Slowik got fired, and then they get Nick Caley ultimately here today.
Yeah, and I think the question that naturally comes up is what's there to like about him? Well, you could ask a couple other teams in the league what they liked about him. Patriots liked him last year. Tampa Bay liked him. He was New York's top choice. So I think that's one thing to like about him. I'm kind of starting to think that tight end coach is a nice starting point for an offensive coordinator as well. If you kind of look at it, I know Sean McVay had tight end coaching experience. Ben Johnson was a tight end coach. It kind of seems like, I don't know, maybe there's nothing to that. Maybe I'm just looking at some stuff, but it does kind of seem like that's a position where you're basically dabbing into both, like two things. Like you're basically dabbing into the offensive line and you're dabbing into receiving. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. But I mean, as you're studying a guy once he gets hired and you're trying to make sense of the background, maybe there's something to the tight end coach thing.
You're definitely onto something. You've got to know how the run works from a blocking standpoint with and without the offensive line, because the tight ends go and help. You got to know how the passing game works from a pass blocking standpoint and receiving standpoint. You just have to coach more than some of the other position coaches have to coach. And so I like that background for him as well.
Well, I kind of saw the light today, and we've been talking about this. And something just really opened my eyes. And I feel like I can make sense of the Bobby Slowik situation and why it didn't work.
Okay.
And we've basically been saying it, but we haven't been pointing to like tangible proof as to why it makes sense and why Bobby Slowik maybe wasn't the right guy for the gig despite the good first year. I'll get to that in just a second, probably about a couple minutes. But let's go to the other side of things. What are the concerns about Nick Caley? Because I think this can be kind of connected to what I just said about Bobby Slowik and the whole Bobby Slowik experience. But what are your concerns about Nick Caley? I know one of them's going to be he's never been an offensive coordinator before, and that's valid. So that's the obvious. Is there anything else to be concerned about?
Yeah, you'd be concerned that it ends up sort of Slowik-esque, where it's like, hey, I took the playbook, I put it on the copy machine, I brought it over here, and we're running these plays, and like it works for a little bit, but then there's no evolution there to him. That would be, I would assume, some people's concerns, but it just feels to me like this guy, having coached a bunch of different places under a bunch of different coaches, in a bunch of different offenses, is going to have like a little bit more evolution to him than what Bobby Slowik had. So the concern is, okay, like you took a Shanahan disciple and he tried to copy and paste and it didn't work. Okay, you're taking a McVay disciple. He tries to copy and paste. It didn't work. I could see where people would have that fear. The thing is it's pretty much worked for most of the McVay guys when you look around the league, and even a stint over there in college with what Liam Cohen did at Kentucky and then what Jed Fish is doing at Washington. Like it's worked with the McVay guys a lot more in the recent years, even going down the list, than it has the Shanahan guys.
Yeah. And you can see it in the chat. It's like, has he called plays before? I don't give a rat's ass if he's called plays before. Like Ben Johnson hadn't called plays before 2022. Like that's it. I don't care if he hadn't called plays. That doesn't scare me away from a candidate. Like that doesn't, like there was a time when Sean McVay hadn't called plays before. Like all the best offensive coordinators, like there's been a time when Kyle Shanahan didn't call plays. Like Andy Reid, there was a time where he didn't call plays. So I just don't care about has he called plays before. I think that's the weirdest, most like illogical way to look at stuff. And here's the other thing about this whole thing. And you look back at the Bobby Slowik experience, and it became apparent to me at the end of the Bobby Slowik experience that, okay, he doesn't have the personality required to lead the offense with a defensive-minded coach. And that was one of my big notions with you was he doesn't have that personality to be able to do this. And I don't know that he possesses the knowledge either. And there's been some pushback to, well, we just hired a guy that didn't call plays before, and now we're hiring someone who hadn't called plays before. And I think we're looking at the wrong place when it comes to that. Because I found out something about Bobby Slowik that I've tried and I can't discover this about any other guy that's been asked to call plays before. And I think this might speak to why he didn't have the personality that we spoke of. He was never even a position coach, Cody. If you think about that, Bobby Slowik never had to lead men. And if you go into an NFL locker room or you watch a practice, a lot of times the guys that command the attention of specific position groups are often position coaches. Like they gravitate to that guy. It's not like being an offensive coordinator, but it's pretty damn close because you're demanding the experience. Like look at what Bobby Slowik did before. He was a defensive assistant. He was a defensive quality control coach. The 2 years before this, he worked at PFF. He was an offensive assistant. He was an offensive pass game specialist. He was an offensive passing game coordinator. And then all of a sudden, he's the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. So I don't think that the notion that, Bobby Slowik didn't call plays and that was the problem. I don't think that was the issue. I think the issue was Bobby Slowik had never actually been called upon to lead men. Then you look at Nick Caley. He's been a secondary coach in college, secondary coach again, tight ends coach, tight ends and fullback coach, tight ends coach, tight ends coach, tight ends coach, and now he's an offensive coordinator. I think it's really, really important to be able to not only bring your philosophy, but also be able to lead men and be able to own a room. And Bobby Slowik, at no point in his coaching career was he called upon to do that. He was kind of just like the, at the coach's shoulder type of assistant type of guy, not really demanding the room. And I think when stuff gets difficult and things get hard and people maybe kind of figure out your tendencies and guys kind of stop believing in you in the locker room, I think that is kind of the most important thing. It's not that Bobby Slowik didn't call plays. It's that he was never even a position coach.
It very well could have been that it was too much too soon for Bobby Slowik. I mean, he had been, Bobby Slowik had been coaching since 2011 in Washington. He had a couple of years, but let's just say his relevant experience 2017. And 2017, and then in 2023, he's the Houston Texans offensive coordinator. Nick Caley had already coached for 10 years in 2017. There's a lot of experience to Nick Caley that's deeper and goes deeper than what Bobby Slowik had. Not to mention a varied history. Coached under Tom Herman, coached under Brett Bielema, coached under some air raid coaches, and then obviously the most relevant, coached under Josh McDaniels, and then coaches under Sean McVay.
Yep. Well, I think it's going to be really interesting to see where he goes from here. But the concerns are simply he hasn't called plays. I don't buy those concerns as Some people do.
Who,
I just don't.
who was the incredible play caller that everybody wanted? Like,
Yeah, usually like really good play callers aren't out there. Like they usually don't leave or they get better jobs.
Did we want Bill Lazor to get a fourth shot at this thing? Is that what everybody wanted? The experience?
Yeah.
The fourth time's a charm for Bill Lazor. Like,
Yes.
Like, if you wanted to say, okay, like, hey, I really like Jeff Nixon because he's called plays and he's coached in the NFL and he's coached in college. Like, oh, okay, sure. Like, that's fine. But that can't be the only reason you like a candidate or dislike a candidate. Like, you need to find some more stuff.
Birdie Boy says, excited about the hire, but is there anything to Belichick naming Matt Patricia OC over Caley?
No. Belichick's getting the retirement home together. He's going to let him retire and his kid take over. He's going to let Lombardi retire, let his kid take over. I'm sure, Patricia's kids are going to coach on that staff one day. He's getting the retirement home together over there.
Maybe he's saying like in New England when they went with Patricia.
No, I don't. I mean,
is that what we're talking about? I don't know.
I guess maybe.
I mean, Belichick did a lot of dumb things. Like after a while, I don't know. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Not sure.
Yeah, that's. I thought he said Matt Patricia got named the OC in North Carolina today.
Marcus asks, what makes Caley an upgrade over Slowik? Now, I'll answer this in a couple of ways. First of all, we don't know what he's going to look like. Like the skepticism will play out. The optimism will play out. But if we just go back 2 years ago to when they hired Bobby Slowik, as I just mentioned, had never been a position coach. He wasn't like highly sought after. He was just kind of the next in line. It was just kind of a natural next in line with that role warranting guys being hired. We saw it with LaFleur with the Jets, and then we saw McDaniel next. He went to the Dolphins, and there was a lot of talk. But Nick Caley, Tampa Bay was interested in him. The Jets were interested in him in New England. So if you're talking about just like in the immediate, like I don't know what his system is. So I can't sit here and say he's going to do this better than Slowik's going to do Bobby. The one thing that I can say that he will do better than Bobby Slowik is he will demand a room. Like he will have confidence. He will have the ability to lead. And on top of his football nerdy side, he's going to have that. But I don't know what his philosophy is going to be, but he is definitely like, if we're just going back to when Slowik was hired, and I don't even think the Bobby Slowik thing is the craziest thing. I'm just saying his personality, it resembled someone who'd never led a room. And then you look at his resume, it kind of stacks up. But I would say that's the upgrade, is that he's more, he was more coveted and he has a hell of a lot more experience coaching than Bobby Slowik.
Yeah, he's more battle tested than Bobby Slowik, and that's one of the main reasons why he's an upgrade. And if he steals from his most recent boss, that's the boss to be stealing from.
I asked Landry earlier last week on a date he would expect to hire. He said Monday, and here it is. Excited to see where this goes for us. Much love. Yeah, it did seem like a 2-week process, did it?
I mean, the Seahawks took 20 days, but they had to wait for interview requests. And once they got interview requests, like, they moved pretty quick. Like, it definitely seemed like let's get all the interviews done and then let's make a decision. And that's exactly what they did. It took them, 10 days? 9 days?
Yeah.
So that's not that crazy. They did a lot of work too. I mean, they interviewed eight different guys.
Yep, they did. Texan and Caley. Can you read this?
It's a false equivalency, Landry, when you say Andy or McVay hadn't called plays. Feeling strategy within a gameplay like they have is what the Texans needed.
What does that mean?
He's saying that he's saying that the Texans needed somebody that has had experience calling plays, because it's not just calling plays, it's the feel for the game and the experience of the game. But that's covered in the elements of calling plays.
Yeah, like that's assuming that just because you've done it, you have a feel. So then let's hire Tim Kelly. That's my point. My point is that at some point these guys displayed their feel and they called plays. So if you had this philosophy throughout the course of time, you never end up hiring Andy Reid as your offensive coordinator. You never end up hiring whoever as your offensive coordinator. To say this is to assume that everyone that's called plays has a feel. That's dumb. Would you agree? Like that's dumb.
Yeah, just because you've called plays doesn't mean
you're adding to the stupidity of it, my friend. I appreciate you though, but yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Just because you've called plays doesn't mean you're good at it. Like it just means you've called.
That
plays.
doesn't mean you have a feel. That makes no sense. That's
yeah.
That's
in fact, a lot of these guys are available because they didn't have a feel. Brian Johnson is available to be somebody's offensive coordinator because he didn't have a feel. He got fired in one season in Philadelphia.
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That's like someone saying they've been doing something for like a long time as like proof that they're good at it. That just means you've been doing it for a long time or you've done it before. There's no proof of that. David White.
Yeah, experience doesn't equal talent. I think that's one of the biggest things that people have a misconception with.
Yeah, it doesn't mean like you could have never called plays and you have a feel. Your experience can put you in position to where you're there. So that's why I don't like to dismiss guys who haven't called plays. Like I didn't hold that against Gerard Johnson, like that didn't make sense. You kind of added to the point, my friend. At least in my opinion, or anyone logical. David White says, does it feel weird to y'all that the organization is finally making moves that us fans enjoy and approve of? Doesn't seem real. Hallelujah. I would actually say this, Stoots, and I don't know if you agree with this. I don't know that this move is symbolic of that. I don't think there's as much pushback. I would say the decision to fire Bobby Slowik is more so what that is. That's where I say that you gain more trust is the fact that they were willing to do it more so than any hire they could have made here, because you could push back on any of the potential candidates and whether or not they would have worked.
Yeah, that's the thing is like moving on from Slowik was the popular decision, not necessarily hiring Nick Caley as the popular decision, but moving on from Bobby Slowik was the popular one this offseason. Then let's see, how many other things they do that garner popular opinion.
Will Kunkel dropping $1.
The host of Kicking It with Kunkel, which you can watch each and every week.
And the face of Fox Local Sports, man.
Yep.
Fox Local Sports. The man, the myth, the legend. Will Kunkel.
And apparently
he likes to do curls too. Hey, that's a man who likes to do curls in the morning.
Well, it sure doesn't show if he likes to do them. little tiny bird arms.
No, it's all in the chest.
He's a couple feathers away from being a dinosaur.
It's the pec right there.
The curls don't help your pecs. I don't look like I work out, but even I know that.
You don't think curls can help your pecs?
Curls shouldn't help your pecs.
Can help the pecs a little bit. Little bench.
I took enough ESS classes and Googled enough to know that's not the case.
Don't drop your teacher's name. I don't want to embarrass anyone.
Yeah, because every teacher's proud of you, huh?
So Gerard Johnson, he was a candidate. Will Gerard Johnson be kept around? I saw Aaron Wilson throwing out the possibility of Gerard staying. Do you feel that happens? Do you think that should happen?
If Nick Caley wants to keep him, then be my guest. But Nick Caley should be given the opportunity to do whatever he wants to do with the offensive staff. If he wants a new O-line coach, if he wants a new quarterbacks coach, if he wants to bring over Rams guys, if he wants to go get other guys that he knows, if he wants to change out the entire offensive staff, he should be given that opportunity. I'm sure that's part of the conversation of the interview, the negotiation, and ultimately like that. If I was Nick Caley, I would be looking for a clean slate with almost everything on this coaching staff. I'd be looking for a clean slate if I was Nick Caley. I certainly would understand keeping Gerard Johnson if he did. I'd look for a clean slate.
I don't really have a strong opinion. Like if he wants to keep Gerard Johnson around as a quarterback coach, okay. But if he doesn't, I don't think it's the worst case scenario. From Gerard's perspective, I also wonder, like you interviewed for the OC gig and they basically told you no. So would you want to maybe go try to figure something else out? I don't think Gerard has the personality I don't think Gerard Johnson really has an ounce of pettiness in his core. Like maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure, but it is probably a little bit weird when you interview for the OC gig, you don't get it, and then you're just back as the quarterback coach.
Well, I do wonder if backup quarterback, last guy on the depth chart, practice squad quarterback, like understanding like it's a business element of it from having been a quarterback. I wonder if that carries over to the coaching element of it where like, hey, it's a business. I didn't get this job. Let's do what's best for business for me. He's going to do what's best for business for him. I wonder if that's a carryover thought. If I was Gerard, I'd stay. I'd stay if I was given the opportunity to stay. I would stay.
Yeah, because you don't know where your other opportunities are going to come. I would be intrigued to have Case Keenum as the QB coach. That would be my most intriguing option for me. I think he's destined to do it. I think he's qualified already. He's basically been one for the large portion of his career. He's kind of familiar with the system. I don't think he's not going to be involved in football. Like, I think there's a 0% chance that Case Keenum leaves football in any way, shape, or form. I think it's just kind of natural. So I'm kind of intrigued by him being the quarterback coach. But if they want to keep Gerard, keep Gerard. It's not I think the craziest thing about this from the Gerard angle is I think the Caley hire is the highest upside and the safest hire. I think it has the highest upside, and I think it's also the safest. And the reason I say it's the safest is because I don't think if this doesn't work out, I don't think you're like sitting there saying fire Nick Caserio and fire D'Amico Ryans. I think the heat obviously gets turned up. Like if this is a 2-year experience and CJ Stroud has like a roller coaster, especially once he's done with his rookie deal, then I think the heat kind of goes up, but I don't think too many people are going to fault it. If you were going to hire Gerard Johnson, you're basically, I know that a lot of times when you just hire within, it's looked at like in the real world as like the safe way to go. Like, it's like, oh, this is the safe way to go. This would have been the riskiest if they would have brought Gerard Johnson to where I think you really turn the heat up. If you bring someone back from this staff to call offense, and we don't know if his offensive philosophy is the same, but if it doesn't work, then I think that's the ballsiest. And I think for a number of reasons, that's why they avoided kind of potential disaster by not hiring Gerard Johnson as OC. You look really smart if it works, but if it doesn't, it's the stupidest that you can possibly look.
Yeah, it would have been an extremely risky situation to just run it back with somebody from the disappointing 2024 in charge. And then probably the scenario where Gerard Johnson is the offensive coordinator, it probably heavily involves Bill Lazor, who also was a part of the failures of 2024. So that would have been very risky. And it would have been like, does this guy from a hiring perspective know what he's doing? Now, 2 years later, if Nick Caley flames out, we'll be asking the same question. I just feel like there's less likelihood that that's going to happen than Gerard Johnson flaming out.
Yes. And I think that not sure. He sounds pretty sure here. I think this is a good point. Internal hires for when the OC is hired away because things were good. I think that's a really, really good point.
It's what Tampa did this year after they lost Liam Cohen. They promoted a guy from within after they lost their play caller to Jacksonville. So now obviously they went and got Cohen after Canales left, but they probably wanted a guy that's going to be there more than 1 year, that kingmaker spot that Tampa has.
Yeah, that's a toughie, man.
By the way, I think if Nick Caley's awesome in 2025, is he a head coach in 2026?
It's possible. You never know. I mean, he's got the pipeline. I mean, if the Texans go to the AFC Championship game or something like that, I think he's got a shot. Moreland's got to be gone, right? This is nerdy shit that only like Texans fans will even know what I'm talking about. But like
Texans coaching staff changes.
Texans cap would probably do an hour on this. I really think Moreland is good. But no, like for real, like that Moreland's got to be done, right?
That Jake Moreland, the tight ends coach for the Houston Texans, I would think he's probably out the door. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah, I would think that he's out the door.
I also think there's a chance that Dalton Schultz becomes a much better player. Like, and by being a better player, I find it hard to believe that someone with a tight end coach background like Nick Caley is going to use him that way.
Correct. Yeah. Look, that's another element of like better coaching could make some of these players who were bad in 2024 better players in 2025. It's like a turn Dalton Schultz into George Kittle, but could he be a better football player than he was in 2024? Certainly.
Yes.
Certainly.
Yes.
Look,
and I think
the coaching staff that he puts together is going to be very intriguing, because if he could lure away the assistant offensive line coach for the Rams, Zach Cromer, I feel like that'd probably be a big time get. It's a guy that knows the McVay system, knows the McVay style of offense, and he would probably know how Nick Caley wants to operate things. It's worth noting Nick Caley knows Cole Popovich, the assistant offensive line coach that's still employed by the Texans.
I'm kind of a fan of Popovich, man.
They coached together in New England.
I'm becoming a fan of Popovich.
Well, I mean, if his
fault. He's mean as hell. The players like him, which I don't care. You fired him. No, it wasn't you. But a lot of
his contract expires on the 15th. Aaron Wilson's been on that.
Aaron Wilson has been very, very on that. A lot of people fired Popovich, poor guy.
Yeah, not fired. Contract does expire, though. So that's one of the things Nick Caley will have to figure out as offensive line coach.
And I'm sure that I could see Popovich being back. I don't have a problem with that. That's not like he's not in charge of the position group. It's not
you could. There's a way you could put both of them on the staff. Popovich could be the run game coordinator, and Cromer could be the O-line coach. You get the whole band together.
Marcus says, I'd rather have an OC who's won a Super Bowl as an OC.
Fire the names. Fire the names away.
Who are we talking about?
Who
is that? Mike McCarthy? Because he was the head coach and OC?
Well, he wanted a Super Bowl, who's won a Super Bowl as OC. So it's like McCarthy was a head coach, called the plays.
He wasn't going to come here.
Doug Peterson, after how shitty Jacksonville was for 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know who that would be.
Yeah, look. Hey, in a perfect world, you'd love somebody with a ton of experience and has won a Super Bowl. Like, those guys aren't available. Like, you can't get those guys.
Do we trade out of the first round again?
I would tell you that a draft night trade is more likely than an early trade, but I could see where they'd want to move back.
That last trade was because they knew they were going to trade for Diggs. So,
yeah,
we kind of got, and it worked out good. Worked out very good. If you tell me that I can get the offensive equivalent of Kamari Lassiter, let's go.
Right? Yeah. If there's some guys that get pushed down the board because other teams got to take, QBs or defensive linemen, stuff like that, be my guest.
Yeah, sign me up for that. So Nick Caley is the guy. I think we're both okay with it. Now
I'm more than okay with it.
Yeah, the fun starts. We got 3 weeks till the combine. We got 2.5+ months till the NFL draft. Free agency, about a month-ish, right? Yeah, close. Month?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah, about a month. So we'll get an idea of what type of players he wants to get. I think CJ Stroud's going to be okay with it. And I'm excited for this, man. I'm excited for this hire. I think it was the best one, the safest one, and the one we wanted to see.
Stroud frequently mentions the Rams as a team that he watches, and he loves Matt Stafford. Well, guess where Caley was the past 2 seasons? Bing, bing, boom.
Cooper Kupp is already like a very popular name being mentioned all over the place.
I have I have the experience with Caley, but it's not Cooper Kupp name for you.
Okay.
Demarcus Robinson.
I like him. I don't know, though. He does kind of have the feel of like looked good in stretches, and then what did not qualify as a good number 2 receiver. But I like him. Every time I see him, I feel like he's making plays.
Oh, I wouldn't have him in here as the 2 by any means, but I'd Demarcus Robinson, 11 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons for the Rams.
I like him.
800 yards. You could do a lot worse as a 4th wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think that the Cup thing is a possibility too, and I think it would have been even without Caley. If he's not with the Rams, it just seems like it would be a team that could perhaps make sense for him, but we'll have to see what they decide to do there. But I don't hate Robinson.
Yeah, look, if you can get Cooper Kupp, sign me up for Cooper Kupp. Like I'm in on that. He's never going to be 2021 Cooper Kupp ever again, but he'd be so fun to watch.
Yeah, they definitely got to improve like the intermediate options.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to the pass game. So they got to figure that out, whether that comes from the slot, whether that's a tight end thing. They got to figure that out. But the Texans get the guy that Stoots wanted. They get the guy that I liked based on the candidates. And now we'll see where they go from here. Super Bowl this week, obviously. Localized Super Bowl thought of the day. And I'm going to ask you this question. I asked it on Twitter at Landry Locker /X, whatever the hell you call it. DeAndre Hopkins. He's a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think most Texans fans hate the Chiefs. Can't stand them. Rightfully so. But they're happy for DeAndre Hopkins when he has success post-Houston because of the way that stuff went down. Does your desire for DeAndre Hopkins to get a Super Bowl ring override your distaste for what would be a historical 3rd straight Super Bowl championship for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I'm good with DeAndre Hopkins not getting a ring. That's fine for me. That's fine. I don't feel like he treated the fans well with how he poked at the Texans when he was gone. The fans didn't want him gone. The organization jacked it up. And I don't feel like he was good to the fans on his way out. So no ring for you. Go Eagles.
I think he was a peacocker. And I think that he chose to like take extreme examples of like rare fans saying something when the love was overwhelming to try to like talk crap and generalize fans. And I also think he added fuel to the fire a lot of times when it didn't need to be added, specifically with Bob McNair. I thought he was a little crazy with that. So I root for Hop. I like Hop, but I do not want him to win a Super Bowl ring, in large part because I hate the Chiefs. And I'm highly invested in the Eagles, and the hate bet streak continues, if I'm being completely honest. So, yeah, I don't. Sorry, DeAndre. It won't be the worst thing if you get a ring, but I am more so pulling for the Eagles over the Chiefs. Sorry about it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. No thanks on him getting a ring.
No, thank you. I would like to see Smash Mouth football live on. The era of Smash Mouth football. I'd like to see Jalen Hurts. Although I hope he can stay awake. It doesn't seem like Jalen Hurts has too much interest in celebrating. There's a lot going on. They got Gilly in the locker room. I feel like Jalen's just kind of wanting to figure it out. He might take a nap during the celebration. But I would like to see Jalen get him one. I like Devontae Smith's country ass. Goddard. The Eagles got a lot of players that I like.
I like Lane Johnson and Mailata, their tackles.
You just like Lane Johnson because he did wrestling.
Lane Johnson's just, good old fashioned go to work, doesn't have to worry about where he ranks on this tackle list or that tackle list or anything like that. And then Mailata made something out of nothing as a afterthought 7th round pick.
David White says, respectfully, F D Hop and F the Chiefs.
All right.
He said respectfully, so it's not disrespectful. It's like when you say no offense and you say something bad to someone.
Yeah.
Next on the super chat, Gage says, I feel people want an OC that is called plays. That way D'Amico can solely focus on the defense. By the way, D'Amico gets the O back because he signed Caley. Okay, so we can call him D'Amico. It's no longer D'Amic.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's a long time. Gage has been around for a long time. He remembers the D'Amic days.
D'Amic, yeah. No O in D'Amico. He can get his O back, so he is now D'Amico. We're with you, Gage.
Good stuff.
Kingdom Bear with the pesos. Hello. My Guedos. Did I say that too white? Guedos?
Güeros.
Hello, my Guedos friends. That's not a Mexican accent. Don't even try to say it. It's been decreed with Caley that we are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to book the hotel in San Francisco.
Damn. Okay, Kingdom Bear. I mean,
All right.
look, hey, that's always a plan that you can adjust on the fly if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, you can sell it. You can figure it out.
Yeah, Kingdom
You'll be
Bear.
good.
With
Yeah, you'll be good.
Making Super Bowl plans.
You got to figure that out. Capsize says they may be the only Texan fan rooting for the Chiefs. She could be right. Maybe the only non-Chiefs fan rooting for the Chiefs, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah.
Although there's some Cowboy fans that have a problem doing that. So there you go.
Yeah, I feel like the Cowboys probably rooting for the Chiefs.
So there you go. It's been a long day. You were live. I was live. Now we are live. And we will continue to do this 10:30 night stream, figure out some new angles on this hire, but it's finally done. Now the real fun begins. On to the combine, on to free agency, and on to hopefully a press conference from new OC, Nick Caley.
I said Nick Caley warranted a press conference. You said no. So I hope I'm right.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do it or not. You can never predict it, man.
If they don't, then the next time the Texans talk about him, well, Caserio will
Combine.
Yeah, I guess it will be combine the next time they talk about
Combine,
him.
yeah. He'll be there.
Oh yeah, he'll be walking around.
Yeah, we'll say what's up. How you doing, man?
He'll be walking around.
What's up? It's your fan Cody right here.
Hey Nick, nice to meet you.
Aaron. What's up, bro? Aaron's gonna go through. What's up, bro?
What's up? The slow motion high five.
Gage, swarm the like button and subscribe, y'all. Yeah, what Gage said.
Thank you, Gage. Thank you.
Herman says he's boycotting the scripted bowl. Wow.
Oh, Herman going hard at the NFL people.
What do you do if you boycott that?
I do not know.
What would you do with your life? Because I'm a nerdy mofo. I wake up, I turn the TV on full blast, and I'm watching all the pregame. And the channel does not leave. It is whatever they have to work with. Fox this year, right? Yeah, Fox.
Yep.
That's what we're going with. All the stories, everything. That's where we're going.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what people that don't watch the Super Bowl do. I don't know.
Someone asked, love the news, but I'm wondering why the Texans went with Slowik over Caley to begin with. I could provide kind of a theory with that. I think at that time, first of all, I think it was all D'Amico's decision. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was all D'Amico's decision. I think at that time, there was no proof of him working in this system. He hadn't even worked with McVay yet. And all his experience was in New England. And there was a strong sensitivity towards being anti-Patriot way and anti that offensive system. Combine that with D'Amico making the decision, I think that would be it, because he did not get his McVay experience. He got 2 years of experience with McVay when they didn't make the hire, which I'm assuming is valuable experience. But I would say that's what kind of makes it a different decision this time as compared to last.
Correct.
So that's
2 years of seasoning with McVay, and maybe some unfamiliarity is a big positive when familiarity was important initially.
So Herman says there's plenty to do besides the Super Bowl. I just don't know, man. I don't know says you take your wife on a date to show her she's more important. So you don't want to watch the game?
Herman says he has 8 kids.
Holy crap.
Good. Congrats.
Herman.
And then he says, play basketball with my son. They got a full 5-on-5. All they got to do is get one of the kids' friends over.
Now, you don't know that. They might have a WNBA squad. We don't know what the splits are with this 8. We don't know what the splits are with his 8 kids.
Oh, okay. You're saying the girls don't play basketball?
Well, they
can't play basketball?
They might play. I don't know. I didn't say that. You kind of.
He's got 8 kids. I mean, they've almost got 5-on-5.
James says Philip Rivers in the chat.
Congrats.
Congratulations on your success, Herman.
You know what? you just take a poll of the 8 kids and figure out what they want to do. They want to go to the movies. They want to go play basketball. They want to do whatever,
Movies with 8 kids, that's expensive, brother.
Yeah, that's a good point.
5 boys, 3 girls. He's got a 5. So there you go. 5 boys, 3 girls.
Does he just take the 5 like around the neighborhood, beating up on just other random 5 kid squads?
Man,
I like that.
Herman's killing the game.
Yeah,
Slings more sausage than Jimmy Dean. Congratulations. So we got the Super Bowl this week.
Yep.
The offensive coordinator has been hired.
He has been hired.
No real other news going down. I know we'll figure out the staffing. You're more into this offensive line coach thing.
Yep.
You have a name. I'm rooting for Popovich, dude.
Okay.
I'm rooting for Popovich. I feel like he's been wronged. All you people, and I mean you media types who fired him, I want Popovich to emerge and stick his middle finger up to y'all for firing him. Contract hadn't even expired, and you're putting out there that he got fired. Popovich.
It wasn't me. Wasn't me.
Anyway, appreciate all y'all for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. We've been in together from the jump. We were in it together during this coordinator search, and now we have a desired result, at least if you ask the 2 guys in this room, based on the fact they didn't even give Josh McCown a chance, or he didn't give them a chance. Who knows?
Yep.
Regardless, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.